All right, welcome everybody to the podcast. This is the Phm's Coffee Hour, and we have our first guest here, Deborah Marshall.
The first guest, yay!
Welcome to the show. So the Phm's Coffee Hour, we're just gonna talk to people that are local here in Grand Island, of all different walks and lives, and have different occupations. And today we have Deborah. So, if you guys don't know about Deborah, she's a mom. She's got 6 kids. She's a wife, and she's also a realtor who has received multiple top agent award. She's on the membership committee for the Grand Island Board of Realtors and a director with the Homebuyers Assistant Foundation. She's a busy girl. And also, she is an Islander, class of 2008. I mean, I really feel like we're the best class, honestly. I am.
You as well are an Islander, class of 2008.
Yes, we share that in common. We have customers that come by the boba shop all the time, and yesterday I told them that I graduated in '08, and one of them told me that that's the year they were born, and I was like, oh man, I feel old. I officially feel old. But Deborah, like myself, lives here in Grand Island, and we're kind of just playing our part. So, well, welcome to the show, Deborah. Thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is we're new to podcasting, so excuse us if we're not doing things correctly, but we're trying.
Learning the mics, that's for sure.
Yeah. So today we're recording the podcast at Phm's Coffee and Boba here at 2237 North Webb Road. Shameless plug. Come by, get some boba, get some coffee.
I got my fix today.
What's your favorite drink?
My favorite drink is the horchata drink with the boba. It's so good. I tried other things. I tried the Vietnamese coffee, and I was bouncing like off the walls, and I think I might have had an energy drink in the mix of it, so it's probably not safe. So,
you know, that's funny you brought up those 2 drinks. Those 2 specific drinks makes me happy when people enjoy. One, because horchata is like a Hispanic based drink, and Taiwanese or boba is a Taiwanese drink. So like horchata and boba has nothing to do with each other until we made the horchata boba, and it's amazing because it pairs so well with other flavors. And yeah, I totally agree. And then the Vietnamese coffee, dude, people, if you know, you know, man, that Vietnamese coffee will give you a jolt to get you going, and it's got a nice, bold coffee flavor. So yeah, if you like coffees, I think that's a good one. Just to give you guys, the podcasters, an agenda. Deborah is, like I said, she's a realtor, and she's been doing that for about 6-7 years now, right? And I would like, just from the conversations I've had with her, she's a master in that domain. So we're bringing Deborah on today, and we're going to talk about the real estate market here in Grand Island, what it means for you if you're interested in buying a home or selling a home, and she's going to give us a lot of good information on that. So if you're interested in real estate, or if you think you're going to be interested in buying a home or selling a home in the next couple of years, or at least just kind of leveling up your knowledge, that's what we're going to talk about today.
I did want to say a little bit about myself, just because we were under the, I'm a mommy of 6, and I am a realtor. I do a lot of sales, but mostly about myself. I was a young teen mom. We didn't talk about it a little bit. In high school, I had 2 children, graduated high school with 2 kids, and then went to college. I still furthered my degree, and I worked for scholarships in high school and grants in high school because I needed the help. I come from poverty. You know, my family was not blessed with funds in life, and so my mom struggled as a single mom, and no matter what, she pushed. So I said, I don't want to be or do how my mom did things. I want to do things better. So when I started in high school and had 2 kids, and then went to college and had my third. I said, "Oh, I did it with two. I could do it with three, obviously."
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my other children, and I was in real estate classes. Well, during that time, I had my brother was struggling with drug addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and I got his four kids. Me and my
Mm-hmm.
husband took in his four kids,
Mm-hmm.
so we had 10 kids at the
Mm-hmm.
time that I was taking my real estate
Oh my
classes.
goodness.
I was taking my real estate classes and doing all that hard work with the 10 kids. So that time management or that life management is
Mm-hmm.
where I learned a lot. I learned a lot with having those kids and then with mine. Granted, it was not easy. It was
Mm-hmm.
not easy. It was so
Mm-hmm.
hard. But as you can tell, I did do it and I did strive and my nieces and nephews went back with my brother,
Mm-hmm.
and other things had happened, but letting them go was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now, when it comes to helping my nieces and nephews, I'm the one that I would like them to turn to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, my tia, I'm Hispanic, who has always been there for me and will be there for me. Um, so that struggle with the classes and having that amount of kids. And then when they left, I had my own six kids. I had to manage them and manage my household and manage my business at the time that was growing rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
um, then I learned a lot in that time. So
Man, that's a lot to unpack. During that time, were there some really low moments that you thought like there's like you just couldn't do it? Um, and what really like gave you the motivation to like dig out of that and keep going? Because I imagine there was a lot of those moments that you felt like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, so the main struggle was how do we provide? My husband was the only one working at the time. So he was the provider. He worked, oh man, so many hours I can say just to um come home with this, you know, check that wasn't enough for 10 kids in the
Mm-hmm.
household,
Mm-hmm.
minimal help from the state. So we did it. And then I guess that was the struggle with trying to provide.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, we did it. We made it through. We had tons and tons of support.
Mm-hmm.
I remember family, or not family, friends who would see me walking these 10 kids to the park,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd be like, "There's Deborah and her little ducklings." So, yeah, a lot of people seen the things we were doing, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand the struggle that we were going through to
Mm-hmm.
make it happen. And then having boys and girls in a household where all similar in age.
Mm-hmm.
I think they went from, if I remember, it was like 12 to 3 or 12 to 2.
Oh yeah.
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 So they were all young. We were young, me and my husband. So the struggle was there. After the kids had left and I got to taking my real estate exam,
Mm-hmm.
um, my biggest motivator was my husband. It was
Mm-hmm.
my support. It
Mm-hmm.
was my mentors
Mm-hmm.
who had pushed me to say, "Hey, Deborah, have you took your test?" And I'm like, I probably should do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or my husband who was like, "Are you going to take your test? Are you ready?" And
Mm-hmm.
my self-doubt, I did not want to like jump so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to taking the test, I remember the biggest memory that I tell everybody and I remember the most is I took the test the first time and I failed.
Mm-hmm.
So I cried. I was like, I'm
Like it's
done.
over.
It's over. I don't want this. And then so the second time my husband was like, you're going to take it again. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it again. The first time it was a try.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back, took the test. I passed my state and failed my national. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
take two tests in
You
real
have to take
estate.
two tests.
Yeah. Remember calling my husband and crying, and I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to take this test. I don't want to do this. And I was driving home because we have to take it in Omaha or
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And I was driving back and I was like, I don't want to take this test. He's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I already paid for the test. You're going back. And I was like, what? No. As I'm like crying and
The support you didn't know you needed.
yes, the belief of
The
somebody.
belief,
Yeah. And so I did end up going back and taking it, and then that time I passed.
What an interesting thing, huh? Like we don't have as much belief and self-confidence in ourselves as the people around you. I wonder if we just get kind of tunnel vision and it's just the thought of failure kind of maybe not even just failing yourself, but the thought of failing your family might have impacted you more. And for your husband to be like, no, we believe in you. And you're just like, okay.
He's like, you're going back whether you like it or not. And I'm like, oh, okay.
He's like, I already paid for this dang test, man. You're going back. I can't get a refund.
Yeah, so that was like one of the things that was the down point in my process,
Sure.
but also a lifting point because
Sure.
again, you don't know how many people believe in you and that support that you need to be able to accomplish what you yourself didn't believe in. And now it's so the confidence is key. Confidence is it's just there.
I imagine you meet a lot of people as a realtor. Do you meet other family that you like saw yourself in as you're like, oh my goodness.
Oh yes.
You guys are like me, like 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago or something like that. Do you see that?
Oh yes, I do. I do. And it just makes my heart so happy that they're buying their first house or they're helping family, through hard times, with their children or they're trying to figure out like blended families. Like that is so unique. I'm like I see it a lot and I love it. And it makes me it builds a better connection.
That's so cool. Because buying a house is a little more than buying a house. It's your freaking home, man. You come home to this place and you feel safe and that's where all your loved ones are at and stuff. So yeah, I can only imagine the feeling you get when you can help somebody make that dream come true, because that's a massive milestone.
Oh yeah. Or even somebody who downsizes and the size of their house is just too much for them, and they look back and they're like, I can't maintain this. I'm looking for something that'll benefit me just as me, or however their circumstances. Also, when it comes to moving states, who do you contact? Where do you go? Like being able to help others know where to go is huge too. Or even somebody who had owned their house and now their family is bigger and they're needing more space, which you guys might need. So like things like that, and how they can use the equity from their house to buy a new house, or who they could get in contact with to be able to understand those things. That's huge with helping. It's not so much about the benefit of the financial side of it. It's you're guiding people in the right direction and they trust in you to do so.
Yeah, from somebody who's definitely purchased a home before, that process could be very daunting, and some mistakes in that process could cost you a lot of money and time, honestly. Not knowing how to do pre-home inspections or having somebody tell you to do that, or just seeing those red flags that somebody who works in the field would know could save you a lot of time and effort for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I do have kind of a buyer's guide to help with understanding that, because one thing you hear from buyers, or in most buyers, is I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand the process. And so as a real estate professional, it's our obligation, our due diligence to be able to give that time of understanding to those buyers. Education is key for them, as we are the ones who took that study, So I do provide a buyer's guide. I do provide a seller's guide. I do like to sit down and have that conversation prior to seeing houses, just because if I didn't, you wouldn't be able to, figure out if you even liked me. And relationship is key in real estate. So you have to know if you connect with that person to be able to want to trust and work with that person.
So what kind of things, if you were a buyer, what kind of things should you look for in a real estate agent?
You would want to look for just their personality, their knowledge, what they can provide, and then your understanding with them. So if you're not understanding them and as a person, how are you going to understand your buying process? So those are good things, good pointer things to look for.
To clarify, like when you say to understand them, like do you mean like to understand what they're needing, like as far as like where to live, what size of home, their price range, certain like cosmetic like things that they're looking for? Is that what you mean? Or
no, I mean, so more of is if a buyer can understand what you're trying to help them with. So
sure, okay.
if they come in and say they're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and the agent comes and they show them a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house,
sure.
There's not that understanding there to what they're wanting. Now, if a buyer comes in and says, hey, show me everything in this price range, you're going to get everything in that price range. And then there's not really a clarification.
Sure.
So that understanding between the agent and the buyer is huge for them to help search for what they're actually looking for.
Sure.
I do have buyers who come in and say, I'm looking for a large backyard and I'm looking for a cone roof or something.
Yeah.
So I can say, okay, well, we have these couple houses like that. And then they say, oh, I want to see this mansion over here. Well, that mansion
doesn't have those.
Yeah. So what are you looking for?
Yeah.
And then if they don't know what they're looking for, at that point, it's my job to say, hey, this is what we have. Let me feel for what you're looking for so I can help guide you. So if somebody says, I'm not sure what I'm looking for, and we go into 3 houses and they're like, ooh, I love that bathroom vanity look. So when I show them a house, I want to show them houses with that bathroom vanity look. So that's where that understanding comes into play.
Yeah, that makes sense because I suppose you kind of have to get that from people, even if they don't verbally tell you, because I don't know, maybe they're having a hard time communicating what they like. But yeah, if you can pick up on those subtle cues and figure out, oh, that's what this family really wants, is they want an island in the kitchen or something, then it can help you.
And then that's that clarification comes in where I say, do you like that countertop? And they'll be like, oh, I love that countertop. Well, great. Now I know what you're looking for.
I kind of want to talk about this for my own selfish reasons, but I kind of want to get your take on Grand Island's real estate market. How do you think it's changed since COVID? Like, it's weird saying COVID. Like it was the biggest thing to ever happen in the recent years, and it just seems like it's already kind of so far away already. Because yeah, it's been a few years, but a lot of things have changed in the last 2 or 3 years. What are your thoughts on Grand Island specifically? And
Grand Island specifically, just what I've personally noticed, this is just my personal opinion, is that the amount of houses were so low, so low. I think we had at one time maybe 30 houses or less, residential sales. As to now, we do have recently that I looked on Friday, it was about 104 residential listings on the market in Grand Island. That does not include for sale by owners or listed within other companies outside of our MLS. So that is kind of just tailored to Grand Island of that amount. But yeah, we've just kind of tripled, I want to say, since COVID time to about over 100 listings now. And sellers are now selling. Granted, there's for sale by owners for sellers who do decide to sell by themselves. I do think it's very important to be represented by a listing agent if you're going to sell, because there's so much more to the process that some don't know. But then also too, the buyers get a better view of, they get to shop around more. It's not so much when COVID was here, it was bam, bam, bam. You had to buy, jump on that house or there's going to be 52 other offers on it. In Grand Island, I don't think it was that that huge.
Yeah.
I think we had maybe like 7 offers on one house at a time, maybe if not more. But I know the bigger cities had like 50 and houses were going over asking and interest rates were extremely low. As far as now, I feel like the houses are coming on. Buyers do have, more opportunity to, have that choice. And yeah, it's I want to say it's never too late to buy. And if you decide to sell with representation.
So, can I say that it's kind of a buyer's market, or is it kind of mix, or like, what do you think? Like, do you think it's an appropriate time to start looking, or?
I say, so there's different price ranges, which, tailor to that. So when it comes to, is it a buyer or seller's market? It's really, is it a buyer or seller's price range? Because the buyer, right now is, I guess I don't want to speak too soon, but a lot have been saying the interest rates are going to drop. Are the interest rates going to drop? Well, I don't have a magic ball to say yes or no. Who knows? I always tell them it's never too late to buy. Your equity will be there. And your bank account, you're sitting on your bank account. Why would you not want to?
Because alternatively, the interest rate could go up, and then that same home could cost you more money. So to Deborah's point, you kind of never know. I guess you buy when you're ready, and yeah. But I mean, throughout the history of real estate, if you're concerned about buying a home and losing a ton of equity in it, that's proven to not be true, because you buy a home, like, for the majority of time, it's gonna go up in value. So yeah, I think I agree with Deborah. You buy if you're ready to buy. It's kind of pointless to think of it as a buyer or seller's market, because you'd never know the future. I don't know. It might go up to 12% in a couple of years. Who really knows? Or it might go down, but there's no point in waiting, right? Yeah.
There's no point in waiting. I love that.
Would you say that what are some other criteria that somebody should look at before they buy a house? Like, maybe we can go through that buying process, like, and how early do you think they should reach out to somebody, as far as if they're looking, like, if they're thinking to buy a house next year, should they reach out to an agent today, or should they wait until next year? Like, what's your thought on that?
So I always share with buyers directly, if you're wanting to buy and you're ready to go, I would say at least 3 to 6 months. The time it would take to find your home would be on your time. So roughly 3 to 6 months prior, you can reach out. You would be better bet to reach out to an agent to get kind of clarification on what you need, what is required. Now, if circumstances are for you to say, I'm ready to buy tomorrow, go see them, because they're going to give you that guidance of what is on the market, what you're looking for. If you're somebody who's trying to figure out what is needed, but wants to make the jump in the future, definitely 3 to 6 months.
Okay, about 3 to 6 months.
And then as a buyer, I do, like I said, I provide a seller handbook and buyer handbook. So I also provide a pre-loan checklist. So that pre-loan checklist right there is to help buyers understand what they would need to get a first-time home buyer's loan, or a loan in general. So this is a list of what the lenders require from buyers to be able to purchase. This is your first step to say, hey, I'm ready. So as soon as you have these items together, you can say, okay, I'm ready. Where do I go and what do I need? You can Google it, but if you get an understanding from an agent, that's even better. So we do require your driver's license or ID card, your past 2 addresses. And again, this is not for an agent. This is for a loan. So if you're looking to get a
this
loan,
is for like a pre-approval kind of, like, okay.
Yep. And so when you have all these items ready to go and you have them ready for a lender with the bank or even with a mortgage company, if you have these ready to go, they're going to look at you and be like, who did you talk to?
Mm-hmm.
Deborah.
She got me ready.
She got me ready.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, like I was saying, they do require employment history for the past 2 years, 1 month's pay stub, complete 30 days, 2 years tax returns, 2 years W-2, and 2 years bank statement. And if you're self-employed, they do require a 2-year self-employed history to be able to establish if you can even get pre-approved at that time.
And I just want to make sure that people who are watching kind of understand maybe some like why do you want to get a pre-approval?
So you would want to get a pre-approval if you don't have cash on hand to be able to purchase a home at a certain price range that you're wanting. You would want to be able to utilize any benefits that the mortgage company or the loan lender can offer. And you would also want to get pre-approved prior, just so you know what that price range is that you can look in. So, for example, if you were to see a house and it's priced at 250,000 and you're like, oh my gosh, I love that house. And then you go in it, you love it. Let's say, for example, an open house, and you're like, I want this house now. Well, you go to the lender and the lender tells you, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't pre-approve you for that amount. You are devastated. You're heartbroken. You're like, I can't get the house that I love. And then when you start looking in a price range that you can, no house compares to the house you fall in love with. No house. And nobody believes me, but I can clarify it because I did something wrong with when I took my husband into a house. Don't do it, ladies. So I took
He's
my.
like, you trying to move or what?
No, and in my beginning real estate career, I took my husband into a house, and it had 8-car garage.
Oh yeah.
And he loved it. That there was not enough room in the house. I think it had 4 bedrooms, no basement, but 8-car garage. And now, till this day, he still says, well, we could have got that house with 8-car garage.
So yeah, do yourself a favor and get pre-approved so you know exactly what I mean, obviously, like best case scenario, everybody has a 8-car garage house, but you know, you got to figure out what's the financially responsible thing to do. So getting a pre-approved, to Deborah's point, you can know what your price range is and what you're looking at, and be realistic about what kind of homes you can buy, so you're not wasting your own time basically with that. Yeah, totally makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And then I do provide a home buyer start guide. A lot of questions that buyers have is, where do I go? How do I start? What do I do? One main thing I like to point out to buyers is it's very important to reach out to a real estate professional, just like you would a doctor if you're feeling sick, or a chiropractor if you're hurting. You want to reach out to a realtor to get that information of how the buying process starts. So I also like to point out, when reaching out, it's very important to understand that there's actually 3 parties that work with you for you to be able to get you into that home. So I always hear, oh, my realtor did it. My realtor did it all. And I'm like, but she didn't.
Yeah.
We do have realtors, me, who assist with the house needs, such as showing the house, preparing the offer, negotiating the offer, inspections, repairs, appraisal, and guidance and education throughout the process. That's what we as the realtors provide. The lenders assist with the financing. So when it comes to the mortgage company, the banks, they assist with that side of it, which is the financing. They pull the credit reports, they do the loan qualification amounts, the payments, the appraisals, the amount of money you'll need to close on the house, which is the cash to close, interest rates, all money questions would be the lender. I do get asked a lot, Deborah, how much do you think this monthly payment will be? I can provide estimates as a realtor, but I can't provide exact amounts. So when I give an estimate and people are like, Deborah, you told me it was 1,500, or for example,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't give you the exact amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, they don't
Sure.
know that.
Sure.
And then a title company. The title company assists with the title for closings, the filing with the courts, the changing of names, the liens, all closing paperwork is what the title can provide or does provide.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to buying a house, you have your realtor,
Mm-hmm.
your lender, and your title company.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody doesn't know who those other supporters are or the process, then that's not a safe understanding of the buying process.
Mm-hmm.
So
Um, who knew it was so complicated? That's why you have representation and somebody to walk you through that. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so it's not Deborah's fault if you can't afford $1 million home. It's the lenders. They don't want to lend you $1 million.
Or maybe because you don't qualify.
Maybe you don't qualify. Thank you for that. While we're on the process of buying that home, I don't totally get this either. There's some new rules and regulations that have came out because realtors work really hard to make sure you get into the right home and things are what you're looking for. So I think there's some new rules and regulations that came out as far as how they are basically being reimbursed. Is that correct?
Yes. They NAR wants it to be full transparent. So they want understanding, the seller to understand where their funds are going, the buyers to understand how their funds are going.
Mm-hmm.
Full transparency is where
So what does the NAR stand for? Sorry.
Nebraska Association of Realtors.
Okay, so this is a state level kind of okay,
National Association of
or
Realtors.
national. Okay,
Yes.
In the process of buying a home, you have the buyer and then you have the seller. Obviously, like somebody's selling some and you're buying some. So the seller usually has an agent, and then the buyer often has an agent. Is that correct? So there's like kind of four parties here, and that's what this basically highlights, how the parties are work together as far as getting paid and who pays what and such. Is that correct?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
The seller is, if the seller does have representation,
Okay.
they will have a seller's agent. A seller's not obligated to have a seller's agent. If they want to sell the house on their own, they can.
Okay.
But I do not recommend that. Just because representation is very, very important.
Sure.
So as a seller's agent, they sign a listing agreement when they first go into a contract between seller and seller's agent. Prior to the NAR rules and regulation change, a buyer did not have a requirement of a document signed with a buyer's agent showing their agreement of buyer's agent.
Oh, okay.
So during that time, a buyer would not have to pay directly their seller's agent. A buyer wouldn't pay directly their buyer's agent.
Yes.
And a seller would pay directly their seller's agent. So with the new NAR rules and regulations, that does say a buyer does have in contract an obligation to know how they're going to pay their buyer's agent. So I did bring a couple of things here. It's very important for buyers to know now that those rules and regulations have changed. Sellers or buyers agents it hasn't been, oh, I'm working for you for free. When it prior came to a transaction, the listing agent would charge a certain percentage to a seller. For example, let's say 6%. So if a seller charged 6% to a listing agent and a buyer's agent brought in their buyer, the seller's agent would pay a portion of their commission to the buyer's agent to be able to complete the sale.
Sure.
Because, an agent's not going to want to work for free. They're going to have to get paid somehow. So that's how that was prior, which still is in play today. We try to keep it as it was, but with our new rules and regulations, it does say that a buyer has a contract to pay their buyer's agent.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a seller has a contract to pay their seller's agent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a seller's agent can still give a portion of their commission to the buyer's agent, which helps that buyer because that buyer then does not have to pay a commission to their agent and they can still purchase said house.
Oh, sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because as a first-time home buyer or as a newer buyer, it's harder to come up with that extra $3,000 or however it may be to be able to provide for their agent. So if a seller's agent is willing to still split that commission with the buyer's agent, it helps bring in more buyers who are qualified and able to be able to purchase that house.
Sure. But they're not obligated to.
No.
Okay. So then if the seller agent does not want to split the commission with the buyer's agent, then is it now the responsibility of the buyer to... Okay.
Yep, correct. Isn't that confusing?
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but it kind of I think most people just assume that the buyer just pays the buyer's agent's commission, and then the seller just pay the seller's agent commission.
And now that's what it is.
So,
but before it was confusing because a seller would pay a certain amount to their listing agent, unaware that listing agent is giving a percentage to the buyer's agent for them to be able to come in and buy. Now, that is still the best practice, best way to do it, to sell or to sell your home, I want to say, with an agent. Because if a buyer, for example, is a first-time home buyer and they really want to buy this house, but they can't afford to pay the closing costs, the inspections, all the amounts that come into closing, but they still want to buy your house, they shouldn't be strained from buying your house because they can't have representation.
Sure.
So,
it's just like as a seller, you don't technically, like, this sounds like girl math or whatever they say, but it's like you technically don't have to take money out of your pocket to pay because they were just taking it off of the sales price. So you're just kind of bringing in a little less, like of the money that you sell versus, a buyer agent. It's like you have to physically come up with that money in addition to your loan to try to complete that sale.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm glad you got that.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to explain, I feel like.
So to clarify, we have the option of doing it either way now, you're saying? Or now you have to oblige by the rules where the buyer's agent have to pay for, or the buyers have to pay for the buyer's agent's commission and then vice versa?
Now we do have it where sellers pay their seller's agent, buyers pay their buyer's agent.
Okay.
But if an agent is charging a 5% commission and a seller says, yes, I'm willing to pay you that 5% commission,
then you can still go that route.
You can still go that route. But if a seller says, for example, if a seller says, I want to pay you that 5% commission and they don't want to pay out, the seller's agent isn't willing to split a portion of their commission, there's not going to be that many buyers that come through, and a seller's paying a full amount to a listing agent. Sure. So there's really not a huge benefit there.
Sure. Okay.
So with that new agency, that new exclusive agency that has to be determined between or has to be established with the buyer, our new NAR rules also require that these documents have to be signed prior to any showing of any property. So let's say, for example, a buyer wants to see a house randomly. They call a sign on a sign from a house, and they're like, I want to see that house. We as realtors are not able to show that property without these buyer agencies agreements established. So before it was you had to be pre-qualified to get into a house to see it. Now it's you have to sign that agency to see it.
Basically what you're saying is don't be scared to sign this because it's just for when the transaction actually takes place. So if you just want to view a home, like, don't be scared to sign that because it's just these new rules and regulations that we all have to follow. So yeah, don't be scared to sign it. You're not paying anyone anything until a transaction takes place, until you say, yeah, I want to buy this home, and they were like, okay, let's do this.
Correct.
Basically, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, correct. That's awesome. I'm so happy that you understand
Don't be
that.
scared. Just sign all the paperwork. No, I'm kidding. This makes total sense now. Why you before we spoke about all this, you were talking about sitting down and talking with people and having these conversations before you show them homes, because um yeah, if you're gonna sign some paperwork and say, hey, I would like you to be my realtor, yeah, it totally makes sense. You got to sit down and talk to somebody and make sure, be like, do I even want to work with this person? Are they helpful? Are they awkward? Are they whatever? So that totally makes sense why you need to take a little more time and have those conversations before you even start looking at houses, just to make sure that that relationship is good. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. Or even if you're like outside of a house and you don't know that agent and you're stuck signing, or you feel like you're stuck, I want to say, signing a document, you're like, why would I want to sign something with this person I just met? On the plus side, we do have one where if you do sign it when we go into view homes, it would only obligate to those certain
Showings. Sure.
Yeah, very, very helpful to know that. And there is also an agency disclosure that is required to be signed upon showings, upon the first initial contact. So that agency disclosure just establishes that I'm an agent, a realtor, working with you as you as a buyer or seller, to be able to do my due diligence, my job duties on your behalf. It's not stating the agreement in compensation or that you're stuck with me forever. It's just stating my job duties, obligations, my brokers, and our relationship.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. That was that's really cool to know. I heard about those rules, but we haven't bought a house since, so I didn't know what that was. But that's not overly complicated, I don't think. And Deborah, I'm sure we'll be happy to sit down and go over that with you again if you didn't totally get that. But yeah. So let's say you're not a buyer, but you actually are interested in selling your home. Could you help with that as well, right?
Yes.
The selling homes. Yeah. Okay. And it looks like you have some information here you can share with us about the home selling process.
I do. I have information on what's important, how the process works. As far as a seller, it's more of who can I trust, who has the knowledge and guidance and can provide the best return for me from the sale of my house, right? So when it comes to listing a house and pricing a house, the two most important things are the pricing and timing of a property to be sold. So when it comes to the price and timing, if you price it too high, you can tell, the market's going to tell you. If you price too low, well, it's going to go.
Right.
And you're not going to get your money worth out of it. Now, that's where it comes important to have that realtor representation to be able to say, here is an idea of what your house can sell for on today's market with the condition, location, other items that come into play. We provide a CMA, comparative market analysis, that states what your house can sell for on today's market, and it helps with that price understanding. So if somebody says, oh, I want to price my house 10,000 over this analysis, that would be price that could affect the time that it stays on the market.
Sure.
If they say, I want to price it mid this number that you give me, the house, the excitement and the interest of that price is going to be there, and then it will be shorter on the market. So with that timing is usually the first 3 weeks attracts the largest pool of home buyers. So if you have that house priced right at the perfect time, it's going to go. Another thing is, if you have the greatest opportunity to sell your home for the best price, that's going to also assist with that timing. Now, if you have it priced over and it sits on the market for a while, that will not benefit you too well.
Sure. Yeah, I suppose some people look at it too and they're like, if this house has been on the market for so long, like, why has it been on the market for so long? And they may kind of doubt it as well. And I wonder if it works a little bit kind of like an auction as well. Like, you go in to buy a home and then your agent's like, I have to let you know, but there's like 3 other offers in this house, it's
Yep.
kind of like people kind of bid on each other as well. So, you might be able to get a little bit more. So yeah, when it's hot basically, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. One thing with the sellers and understanding the selling process is what you can control and what you can't control. A lot of times, what a seller can control is the property condition, the showing abilities, the pricing, and the ready to show. Motivation is key. So if you're motivated to sell your house, you're going to prepare it properly to get sold. What a seller can't control is the market conditions, the interest rates, the competitions, and the perfect buyer that comes along. So there is a perfect buyer for every house. We just got to find that perfect buyer. As a seller, it's so much more when it comes to the selling process. Putting your house on the market, great. Having people come, great. You can get it sold. But understanding the actual process. So what's an appraisal? How to understand an appraisal? How to negotiate? How to negotiate home inspections? You want to get the most for your buck without having to lose so much in putting into a home. When if you have that representation, you can have that understanding of what would need to be done and what doesn't need to be done. Because a seller's not obligated to make any repairs, but if they do want to sell their house to that perfect buyer who has came along, they want to be able to, give them what they want in the house. So I always say the most important thing when it comes to buyers asking for any type of repairs, I do hear quite a bit, oh, doesn't the seller have to fix that? Doesn't the seller have to fix that? A seller is not obligated to make any repairs, but anything safety or hazardous for a buyer would be safety and hazardous for a seller. So as a seller, you don't want to, if you didn't know there was a gas line open and you're living in your home, you might want to repair that.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to the selling process, it is very important to have that marketing, that CMA, comparative market analysis, to be able to establish a price range. You want to be able to have that marketing tools available to be able to get your house shown and presented and shared out to as many buyers as possible. Once offers come in, understanding the offers, you want to know what type of loan they have, what they're asking for, what the contract means, what are your requirements as a seller that you're needed to be able to fulfill that document. You want to know what inspections they're requesting. If they're requesting a plumbing inspection, a sewer scope, let's see, a water test, for example, you're like, I've never had that done before, or that was never a problem for me. Well, now you have to understand why they're requesting it. And you don't want to, argue so much here and there when you could have a better understanding with it.
Sure.
Also negotiating those inspections, negotiating that appraisal. For example, if your house is priced at $250 and the appraiser says it's $249, what are you going to do? So understanding that, what you'll need for the title company to be able to show your payoff, close the property, how your funds are going to be dispersed, what you need to do after you've signed any documents. Those are all that come into play with selling your house. I mean, did anybody know that?
I was going to say, I didn't know half those things.
So,
Get yourself some help.
Yeah, tons come into play, but the best part of it is being able to say, "Hey, I sold my house, and I could buy a new house, or I walk away with all that equity."
Yeah, that is really cool. Because I suppose if you sell a house, you might be able to buy a new one, and that's always fun to be able to get into a new house too.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's a ton of information, and I'm so glad to be able to share it, and be able to share it to your clients coming in here to the boba, or clients who are or anybody who's interested in wanting to know. Now they have a better idea. But if they want a more intelligent understanding, and want to be able to say, they got the education from this that they were hoping for. I hope that's what they say at the end of the day.
Yeah, I hope somebody got some decent information out of this. Either way, that was really fun. Is there anything else you want to add that you think you want to add?
Just that if you are interested in buying or selling a home,
Mm-hmm.
I am Deborah Marshall with Nebraska Realty. I've been selling real estate for 6.5 years now. I've been in the real estate industry for 9 years. I was previously the marketing coordinator, so I do have quite a bit of experience. And like Tuan said, that I have my education, I have my what is it called? I just blanked out. I have the Homebuyers Education Foundation.
Uh-huh.
I'm a director for them. I do have I have sold quite a bit, and I would like to help anybody who's interested in knowing the process and sit down with me and go over the buying and selling.
And we'll list Deborah's information in the post as well, so people can contact you for however early or late they are in that process, and they just want to get some more information. But yeah, I mean, you know, you got somebody who lives here in Grand Island and knows the market so well. I just that's the kind of people you want to work with. That just, you know, they're kind of the master of their domain. So like she says, you go to the doctor if you're not feeling well, and you know, if you want to buy a home, you got to go to a real estate agent that kind of knows what they're doing. So totally makes sense. Thank you so much for being on the show. That was so much fun. There's a lot to know, and thank you so much for showing up. And I feel the love. Thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Well, special thank you to you for allowing me to come through. Special thank you and shout out to my kids, my children, my family, my husband, and all my supporters and all my past, present clients. And I just huge thank you. I wouldn't be able to do it without any of you guys. And being here today is an awesome opportunity and a blessing.
We're building this community.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on the show. I will catch everybody on the next podcast. Thank you, Deborah.